Hey everybody, Like the Blades here. In today's video, I bring you the Squidindustries Hydro. Now, this review, just like all the others, are very personal and subjective. They are based on my preferences, everything like that. I am not being swayed, I'm not being paid for this in any way. In fact, this was sent to me for work. I had to work on this because if you saw the last video, which would be the unboxing, I had to put a brand new edge and tip on this knife, which I feel like I did a pretty damn good job of doing. Now, I'm gonna start off by saying, if you know who I am, you know how I feel about this knife. I tried it with both sets of spacers that were sent to me by the Buffness, so thank you, my guy, for sending both the channel and non-channel spacers. I'm gonna leave the channel spacers in because they actually give it enough weight to be flippable for me, but still doesn't sound very good, like, at all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. This is a first production, number 73 of 400 Hydro. See if I can bring it up here. There we go, number 73. I put a fresh edge on it, a brand new tip, which is very scary. It's a very pointy tip. This is made of grade 5 titanium. Last I checked, at least it was. It runs on bushings. It's a sandwich design, unknown blade steel. I talked to Squidindustries, I talked to Lucas at Blade Show, Texas, when these were first dropped. Not a single person could tell me what steel they used to make the Hydro. Not a single one of them knew what steel they used, which is very worrisome for me because at that point, I can't tell you if the value, just based on the materials at least, if it's good or not. I can't tell you if it's got good value based on the materials, because I don't know what this is made of. I know it's steel, I know it's hardened, I know it can hold an edge, somewhat, but I don't know what steel it is. No one on the Squid team knew what steel this was made of, which is just a huge cause for concern for me. Now, I say the handles are grade 5 titanium because that's at least what I've been told. I don't know how accurate that is, considering the dents in the bottom of these handles, which were not done by me. These were already here when I got this. I do need to send this back eventually, but yeah, I've always known how I feel about this knife. Ever since the first time it was fucking put into my hands at a Blade Show, I knew how I felt about it. I've hated it. But for some reason, I still bought one at Blade Show, Texas, 2023, which was, no, maybe it was 2024. Yeah, I think it was 2024. Either way, regardless, I knew how I felt about it, but I still bought one because I was like, you know what? maybe it'll grow on me. Yeah, I sold that knife the very next day, so... And I flipped it the entire night. It did not grow on me at all. Honestly, it just made me hate it even more. And it doesn't help that it's not very visible. Sorry about my nails, they're all fucked up right now, but you can probably see it. There's milling lines here on the sides of the handles where milling lines do not need to be. You don't need that grip there. It's a sandwich knife. There's no need for that. So when you're doing certain tricks, your fingers are rubbing against all of that, especially during chaplains, and it rubs your fingers raw. Or at least it did for me. Like, my hands were completely raw by the end of the day of flipping this. It sucked. I hated it so much. Honestly, it made flipping any other knife difficult, because you also get a somewhat Squiddy syndrome feel just from using this for a while. And that just made me upset because I enjoy more heavy knives. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting into the pros and the cons. Keep in mind, this is how I feel about it. This is my review, how it reflects me, not you. So I'm gonna start off with the cons, or no, I'm gonna start off with the pros. It's a minimalist kind of knife. It's small, it's lightweight, very compact. You can fit it into your pocket with ease. I don't know what just happened there, but you can fit in your pocket with very much ease, no issues whatsoever. I mean, I can see how that would be fun, but like, still, there's way better things out there for a minimalist to use, but I still see it as kind of a minimalist knife. Now, the second pro, modability. I mean, just look at it. You can get inserts for your handles here. You can get extensions for the handles because it's already a short design. Different kinds of spacers. That's fucking cool. I mean, there's just so much that you can do, like get inserts for the blade here even. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it that I'm sure you can make it a better knife. But for me, personally, it's not worth it. I'm not gonna spend nearly $400 on a knife to start modding said knife just to make it flip as good as like an aluminum lucha or something. I'm not gonna do that. That's just not fun for me. Now I can make a replicant and mod that. That would be worth it, but there's no mods for this that I would be willing to do, because that would just make me spend even more money on a knife that I already hate. Now, the final pro, it's reversible. The handles are reversible. If you look inside the handles, you have all of these little holes. And then you also have this hole up here. These holes allow you to put the knife together literally any way. As long as you slap the handles together, or the slabs together, it will work. I mean, of course you gotta put the spacers in the right side, but you can do it either way. Just move the Zen pin over to these holes, and then this fucking spacer over this side, and it'll still work. You just gotta put it on the other handle. So these handles are reversible. Doesn't matter how you put them together, because you'll put them together correctly. You just can't put them together upside down, because that's a different story. Now, that is all the the pros I can even think of for this knife, or that I could come up with. I was being very generous for this knife. Now, let's get to the actual part of this review that I'm looking forward to, because, oh boy, am I looking forward to dog shitting on this. Now, for the cons, I'm gonna start it off with materials. I mean, yeah, you have grade 5 titanium, but again, you don't know what fucking steel this is. The Squid team doesn't know what steel this is, which brings a lot of concern into my purchases. I don't want a knife if I don't know what the hell the steel is made of, or what steel it is. That's a no-no. That's a big no-no. Now, if I knew what steel it was, it would depend on what steel it is if I would actually use it. But considering the second con, durability, I'm not buying another one of these. I'll work on another one, but I will never buy one again. I will not trade for one. I will not have one of these in my collection ever again. And that is an absolute guarantee. Now, I mean, sure, I can see a reason for having one, just so I can absolutely beat the shit out of it, because I hate it, but I'm not gonna do that because that's a waste of money. I mean, these blades, the tips, they are so fragile. I have seen a hydro literally lose that much of its tip. And once you get to that point, you're removing so much weight from the blade that the balance on this is messed up. This is going to be a stupid review, but I'm looking forward to it because I'm looking forward to the people commenting down below to say, what are you talking about? The hydro isn't all that bad. Fuck you. I hate these, so deal with it. Still comment and let me know how you feel about it because I will talk to you about that. Anyway, the durability is just not there. The tips break off so easily. I mean, the blade stock is so thin. A small, measly drop could destroy this thing in seconds. Which also leads me to tuning. Now you may be wondering, how does a drop have to do anything with tuning? Well, you see, I got a new carpet in my room. Well, a new rug, and it's very thick. I'm using it as a flipping mat. Nothing has broken through it, and it's very plush. It's very soft. So, nothing hits the ground very hard at all. I was flipping this literally last night to make sure I had everything I needed for this review, and I dropped it like teeny tiny drop like that, except it was softer because carpet. And one of these screws became so loose just from that drop that it damn near completely fell out. I picked this thing back up and the handles were just tap, tap, tippity tap, tapping away on the blade. And that brought a lot of concern for me. It's a bushing knife. There's no way it should come loose like that just from a tiny drop, especially being cranked down. So I have many tuning concerns, especially since every last one of the hydros from first production, and I'm pretty sure damn near all of them from pre-production as well, have tuning issues, binding issues, undersized bushings, oversized bushings, crooked bushings, fucked up washers, backwards washers. Like, there are so many things wrong with the hydro lineup that it's depressing. I mean, the amount of years they spent designing, prototyping, and then finally releasing this knife, the amount of time they spent on that, there's no reason it should have come out with all of those issues. That genuinely just tells me that Squidindustries does not give a shit anymore. And honestly, I believe that. They truly don't. I mean, they were supposed to release Damascus Tontos of the Kraken at Blade Show East this year. This year, not next year, not last year. This year, 2024. They were supposed to release at that show. But nothing. And then they end up releasing them at Blade West. And they don't even make the same amount of them as they did for the Bowie blades, like they were going to, and like they said they were going to. Now you can say, oh, maybe they had issues. No, they didn't have issues, they just didn't do it. Even if they did have issues, that wouldn't explain why they decided to hold off on East and not say anything and then release them at West. Like, why would you release them at West? That makes no sense. If you say you're going to release something at East, you release it at East. But whatever. I'm tired of Squid Industries and their bullcrap. I'm not buying any new knives from them. The only Squid Industries stuff I'm getting is going to be secondhand. Fucking deal with it. Unless it's a Tsunami. It depends. I might buy a full dress Tsunami, but it depends on if I can find a good one on secondhand. Anyway, back to the actual fucking purpose of this video. I just talked about tuning. I talked about durability. Size. Let's talk about the size of this thing. This thing is small. Like, it is very small. I have two other small knives here that I'm going to compare it to. I have a Maxace Obsidian S. It is smaller than the Obsidian S. Even if just barely, it is still smaller than the Obsidian S. And this thing is small as shit too. The Talisong. This is an old school knife. Not everybody has one. I get that. This is not a very good comparison. I get that. This is $1,800. This is $400. I get that, but I'm not comparing the knives themselves. I'm comparing the size. So fucking suck it up and deal with it. This is a small knife. And yet, the Talisong is still bigger. Again, just barely. But this blade on the Talisong has also had a lot of material removed, so yeah, it used to be longer, but that's not the point. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab something like a Kraken. This is normal. This is a normal size knife. Yeah, no. Like, I can get around a Kraken. Easy. And I enjoy it. But a Hydro is just so small that it's difficult for my hands to actually grab onto everything I need to grab onto. But the size inevitably ends up talking about the weight. I like heavier knives. The Talisong, obviously, that's a heavier knife. Let's see. How about a Solo? Not exactly a heavier knife, but it isn't a light knife either. This is more of a middle ground. I mean, I've just always enjoyed heavier knives. So something this small, which is against my preferences, I enjoy longer knives. And this light, I enjoy heavier knives, is just so off for me that I cannot flow with it nearly as well as I can my other knives. Not to mention the chaplains just feel really weird. Like, I have to put a lot of effort into them. Now, I've talked about the size and the weight. Let's go ahead and talk about the handles themselves. And when I mean that, I mean their taper. Usually, you have handles thin out at the top and thicken at the bottom. Thin to thick. The Hydro is the exact opposite. It goes from thicker to thin. The handles thin out as they get lower to the bottom of the handle, which just feels so wrong that when I'm going to do this, or even just one of these fans, It feels like it's about to fling out of my hand at any moment. And I do not like that. Even when I'm doing choker fans, it feels like it's gonna fly out of my hand because I'm expecting to feel something like the top of the handle. But I'm feeling something so small. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Why would you make the bottom of the handle thinner than the top? For what reason would you have to do that? Actually make it make sense. This knife is just all around a piece of shit. It is not worth $400. It is not worth $5 to me. I would not pay $5 to have one of these. I would not allow someone to pay me to have one of these in my collection. I don't care how much you offer me. One of these will never be in my collection again. And that is final. That is a fact. That is final. I will never have one of these in my collection again. You're just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. Honestly, if this was my knife, I would happily put this in a wood chipper on camera for everybody. But this is not my knife. I'm pretty sure the buffness would be very pissed off with me if I did that, so I'm not going to. Anyway, that concludes this entire shitty review. Final words. The Hydra's a piece of shit and it looks ugly.